This is the Power of OZmosis podcast, powered by the Vidwheel Creator Network. Hi, everyone. This is the Power of OZmosis video podcast, powered by Vidwheel Creator Network. Today, I'm joined by a great friend of mine, someone who has inspired me in more ways than one and has been doing great work in the community in all senses of the word for a while now. And so grateful to be welcoming Courtney Hamp of Opichi. Opichi is a web development and marketing firm. And today we're going to be talking about all things, first introducing, of course, who Courtney is and his firm Opichi, but then things like mindset, entrepreneurship, growing forward, something that Court has shared with me. I love that phrase, that concept. And then also even things like giving and how to balance your giving. So it's really a how-to on kind of all things mindset, entrepreneurship, finding growth in whatever it is you're doing, you're passionate about, and then also the concept of giving, which is something that I know I'm passionate about, and so is Courtney. So, Courtney, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Glad
Happy
to
to
have
be
you here,
here.
brother. Yeah, glad to have you here virtually for now. I'm sure we'll have something further down the line that will involve an in-person. And speaking of in-person, we were in person together last week, just reconnecting, and that's kind of what prompted this
Yeah.
podcast was just a stimulating and layered conversation that really got me excited and more excitement level than I usually operate at. So again, what we talked about last week was what I just then kind of ruminated on briefly about what we'll talk about today. So, most importantly, let's talk about who you are, who Opichi is, and both what you do and what your firm does.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, you kind of summed it up there at the beginning. Opichi is a web development and marketing firm. Kind of breaking that down a little bit, we work in kind of two verticals, if you will. One of our biggest specialties is e-commerce. We help e-commerce customers take their store if they already have one that's moving product, and we take them to the next level through optimizations and making sure they're taking advantage of all the traffic they have and getting the right traffic. So that's
Mhm.
one arm of the business. And then the other arm of the business is focused on local businesses. And actually, just before we started this, I was telling you about a video I'm rolling out on LinkedIn a little bit later today, and it's telling local businesses how they can get some customers in the next 7 days. And we work with local businesses to help them, grow their presence online. So that's kind of the two arms of Opichi. But to give a tiny little story about the name, because people wonder, it's Opichi, and people wonder about the name. What is that? And it is actually the Ojibwe Indian word for robin. And the robin to them is the symbol of spring and new growth, and it takes them into a new area of life. And so that's what we do here at Opichi. We take businesses into a new area of growth, a new area of life, and expose them to new ideas. So the name actually does have a meaning, and it aligns exactly with our values and purpose here.
That is just, I mean, let's key it on that. I mean, you hit on one of the points, the kind of themes that we'll be talking about, and you're already immersing in it. I would love to know more of really how Opichi then, how you discovered this word, this concept, and obviously I see how it links to what you do as a business in terms of your business and technical service deliveries, products, right? But how did you get to discovering Opichi, that word?
I have a hobby, if you will, that I love naming businesses. It is something I love to do. If somebody suggests a business idea, I will go out and find a name, even if the business is going nowhere. It is just a fun exercise that I like to do. And one of the ways that I do that, and I actually help customers with this when they're launching and rebranding, we sit down and I put together a list of adjectives about the business, and then I put together a list of deliverables, little short, does this, does this, does this, and go out and find different words and synonyms that match those adjectives, that feel, and really kind of build a whole list of words. And then when you go through, when you're in the web industry like I am, you think about the web presence. Can you brand that web presence? Because you can come up with any set of words, but so I also go and look at the available web presences for any words that really stand out. And most of the time, what you have to do is find either a combination of words, maybe a mashup, and a really fun trick that I love is to go and find a word in a different language that has a meaning similar to or identical to what the business does. And in my case, I've always been a coach, a teacher in everything that I've done in business. And so the concept of that guiding people to new growth just it really fit in. It hit home as soon as I found that. I'm like, that's the name. That's what we're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. And it's just congruent additive to, how I had described you at the beginning of the conversation, which is a very mindful, intentional, layered individual, in terms of your thinking and the way that you intentionally live your life, the things that you do, who you are associated with, connected with, how you spend your time, your effort, your energy. So, that's really cool, man. I'm learning a lot here, and I love learning like I know you do. And so with growth in mind, I love to flip back because I know this is not going to go out in time, or at least it's not going to go out before your LinkedIn post that you mentioned about 3 things to do within 7 days. Would you be willing to share those 3 things, kind of like with that how-to ethos that I've been trying to do with the
Yeah.
power of osmosis? What are those 3 things there, Court, that can help businesses grow?
All right. If you don't mind, I'm just going to pull up my notes real quick because I don't want to like
Please,
run in a ramble here.
please go for it
I
all
always
day.
do. But okay,
No, you
so
don't. No, you don't. That's me, brother. That's me.
I I am when I shoot a video, it's notes. I don't script it, but it's notes,
Yeah,
because
guiding
I'll get
lights.
talking and I'm like, wait a second, what was I going to say next? So the three things that small businesses, and this is focused on local businesses primarily. There, if you have a national presence or an e-commerce store, some of these things could work, but you'd have to modify them quite a lot. But if you have a local service business or a local medical practice, this is how you're going to do it. First thing is use your list. Everybody forgets to communicate with their past customers. Whether
Mm.
you have 100, 1,000, 10,000 past customers, get that email list together, put together a little newsletter, be personable, be a real being, not just a professional, and send that out with a little offer. Include a little offer, send out a newsletter, say hi, reintroduce, maybe give them an update on what the business is doing. That's the first thing. That's going to get big results. Contact your list, remind them you exist. So that's the
Ooh, that
first thing.
rhymes. Let's go.
That was
Contact
not on
your list
purpose.
to remind them you exist. Let's go.
Yes, we're gonna have
All right,
to.
that's it.
I'll have to trademark that at some point. That was
Write
that was
that
on the
down. Let's
fly
write that
here.
down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're
So,
recording it. It'll be good.
yeah, you're right. Let's go.
Yeah. So the second thing is do customer satisfaction calls, and this one's scary for small business owners. Pick up the phone. Anybody that you've worked with and completed work with in the past 30, 45 days, pick up the phone. Don't just email them. Pick it up. Give them a call. Sometimes it's good to send them a text message first. Be like, hey, I'm going to call you in 5 minutes. I got a quick question about the project we did for you. Then give them a call
Mm.
and just ask them, hey, are you completely satisfied? Did we get to the goal you wanted? Whether it's, cleaning teeth or mowing the lawn or painting a room, doesn't matter. Find out if they're completely satisfied. And in that process, you'll either learn more about what you need to do to serve customers better, or more likely, you're going to remind people that you did do a good job and be able to get them to refer you more business.
So good.
So that's the second thing. The third thing piggybacks on top of those first two. So if you're doing the first two, the third thing is maybe what you want to set up first and then layer it on top of the other two. But that is create a referral bonus program. This works really well in the medical industry and in service industries where you have kind of packaged products or packaged services. And that is let people know that if they refer somebody to you, they get a discount on their next service or something like that. Or just give them a $10 gift card. I don't know, whatever your business feels like. But it really works well to do a discount off the next service. And then let people know about that. That can be something you do in a second email. So send out your newsletter with your little offer, but don't just leave it there. Go hit them with a second email and let them know about your referral program. When you're doing your customer satisfaction calls, let them know about your referral program. And if you do those three things and can't get more business in the next 7 days, definitely start exploring your business model and see where else it's gone wrong.
Oh man, that's just fantastic. And again, congruent with how can we, it's almost reverse engineering growth, right? Like, because you've already delivered service value product. Now it's like, let's go back. I guess it's not necessarily reverse engineering. It's more retro, right?
Yeah,
Retroactively going within your client base to then find nuggets of insight that you can then apply in the present and going forward. So once again, Mr. Layered himself, that is fantastic. I love that. That is great.
it's
That is
something I see a lot. Small business owners get focused on what's the next thing. And we forget that sometimes the simple stuff still works. Just
yeah.
go back to the people who've already worked with you and get back in touch. You don't have to do a new innovative concept every single time you want to grow. It's not necessary.
You have to reinvent the wheel, right? Go to the
Right.
simple but powerful concepts, offerings. That is beautiful. And um, with that said, I mean, there was something that just came to mind that now has escaped me, but actually I do have it back. So here we go. That's happened a couple times today. I might need to catch a few more Z's
Good idea.
overnight, but giving. So within that there, Courtney, is flavors of giving, right? Because you're giving insight, you're giving not only, I mean, just let's look at what you just talked about, three things to get more business in 7 days or new business, right? And that there is giving. You're giving insight, you're giving expertise, you're giving a chance for a business or a business owner, someone to think differently, to think critically,
Right.
right? So I'd like to explore what giving is to you. And let's start with what is giving, in your opinion, and then I'll ask further questions because you never ask a two-part question on a podcast. So, what is giving to you, Court?
What is giving to me? Hmm. That's a really
Big
good
question.
question. But I think we kind of really saw what giving is to me in that example. I
Great.
am, and this for good or ill, I am not necessarily the person who goes out volunteering my time for um, doing this, that, or the other thing. While I enjoy doing those things, it doesn't always fit into a scheme of life that I can do it regularly. So to me, giving is giving when I'm able to without depleting myself.
Mm,
And that's very important because if you deplete yourself in your giving, then you're not giving your best and you're taking away from you and you have to value yourself before you can value anybody else. So don't overgive, don't overpromise, but give where you can, where your talents lie, where you can do the most value, even if it isn't the conventional, I'm going to go volunteer to clean graffiti off walls or something like that.
well said. And within that, then, within that definition of giving, you prompted another kind of thought that came across my mind, which was kind of to figure out, like, first, I need to figure out what I'm talented at, what I'm good at, what I'm passionate about, and then you have to align that with a need, so
Mhm.
that when you align it with a need, then that's what we like to call value, or how you can be remunerated, and make a living and keep the lights on. But um, let's dive further. Let's go further. So giving is here, but within giving is knowing an awareness level, Court, on what you're good at, what you're talented at, what the world needs, what you're passionate about. How do we if without hitting you with too many like pretty big philosophical questions, I know you can handle it. Trust me, your bandwidth is like nothing I've ever seen. How do we address that then underneath giving?
So I like to use this example when it comes to finding your talent and passion and then turning it into something that both can be used to give and to, turn it into a business if you want. So many times we look at ourselves and say, wow, I don't have any talents anybody wants. I mean, you might be able to build a house from scratch and still sit there and say, I don't really know if anybody wants this because it's not as good as the next guy.
Mm.
We tend to talk ourselves down like that. But I saw, and I'm trying to remember the exact product it was. I could be wrong in saying this, but I think it was little custom stick-on eyeballs, like those ones you would see on little animals, the flat ones with a little.
Yeah.
So this lady makes custom ones and created a whole store selling custom little eyeballs that she makes at home. They stick onto things or can be stitched onto different animals and stuff. And I, for the life of me, can't remember the name of it. But I, looking at that, I'm like, wait a second. Somebody can create eyeballs, and that's of value to somebody else because she's selling it. She's making that store. So she took a passion that, to me, if I made eyeballs, I would not sit here. I guess I don't have the self confidence to sit here and say somebody else wants to buy these, right? I would look at, oh, you can go to the craft store and pick up, professionally made ones. Why would you want to buy my custom ones, right? Like these are all the things I would talk myself out of. So when it comes to finding your passion and your talent, I think I'm going to tie this back to giving, but make sure you're investing in yourself enough that you actually value yourself and value what you're good at and don't just see it as anybody can do that thing. That's where you're going to find the passion and the talent and be able then to start planning a way to give and to provide value that can be paid for in the future.
This is just laden with gold, brother, laden with gold. And I have to always work this in there. Every single one, 30 plus podcast episodes in, our millions of watchers and listeners, law of attraction, are probably sitting back now, smiling, chuckling a little bit with that cool but funny but real life example on someone who had the passion, the courage to embark on that journey, on that process of, look, I enjoy making these little crafts. And it's really congruent to where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
And you might have to evolve, right? Right, Courtney? You might have to evolve your offering, right? If there's another exercise that I think I don't want to assume, but I think you'd be congruent with is if you were to ask yourself, what can I do starting tomorrow or whatever, today, tomorrow, that
Mm-hmm.
for the rest of my life is going to fulfill me and make me happy, but I'm going to make no money doing it. What would I pick? Right. So now, okay, that's your version one. It's I would do
Right.
this. I would do this. Maybe it's one thing or maybe it's a couple, but I would do this, this, and this. And that's version one. Right. And then, okay, well, let's go online and do the old search. How can I make money doing this and this?
Right.
Not many things come up. Okay, well, again, where there's a will, there's a way, Courtney. Let's think about now version two. I got goosebumps talking about this. This is like, dude, this is it, man. Like, this is the stuff right here. Like, it's the power of conversation, though, right? Court and us having this conversation. Did I ever think I'd be sitting here 15 minutes into this with you talking about these things about little custom eyeballs? No. But when you have two people on the same frequency and we're passionate people, I'm passionate about what I do with OZmosis. You're passionate about what you do with Opichi, both which start with O's. Interesting.
Yes. Yes.
It's funny what you can do in life and what you can accomplish and what and I'll finish with this. Life seems to be, I say this often, it seems like it's a movie because when you start from the inside and you go inside, validation versus outside, and you arm yourself with that visceral awareness of I know why I'm here, why I do what I do, and what I'm here to actualize. The rest takes care of itself. And then you laden that with
Yes.
giving, with passion, with doing the right thing, serving others, serving yourself. And that's another piece to what you said there, Court. It's serve yourself so you can serve others. Because if you
Right.
don't take care of yourself, then you're good for no one.
Right.
So
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. I'd like to how do you, let's talk about how to balance. I'd like to hear how you balance your giving, and really just stepping back one more, just a subset of that, and then go back to, just want to give the floor back to you. Giving is not just, I'm going to donate money or I'm going to go volunteer at the soup kitchen. Giving is everywhere around us, right?
Hmm.
Giving is of your, your listening, your support, your energy, your empathy, your service to others, to the community. There's so many things you can give. It doesn't have to be dollars. It doesn't have to be volunteerism. A lot of times they do play in the volunteer world or the not-for-profit world, but there's so many other things for a friend, for a family. So back to the ask though, how do you balance giving, Courtney?
Mm, I will say that instead of, I guess I've kind of trained myself to a degree, so it's a bit instinctive to not overgive anymore. And I'm gonna jump back and give a tiny bit of context to our conversation last week, where we
Let's do
talked
it.
about a lot of times we're raised to feel like we owe people things, and everybody is owed something, and that goes back to the self-worth and valuing yourself. And so I've been working on that for a long time, and I've kind of created this, I guess, instinctive space where I don't feel compelled to overgive anymore. I used to. I would give of my time and energy and efforts to the point that it, almost ran me out of business. Um,
Mm.
so, I learned that lesson the hard way. But I have found I guess, a trigger, if you will,
Mm.
that giving is a catalyst. And this, I don't know, maybe this sounds a little selfish, but I'm just going to say it anyway.
Go
when
for it.
I get stuck, I'm working on something and I get stuck. The number one way I get unstuck is to go do something for someone else. Go help someone else. Go give them of your time, of your energy, of your thought process. Just go give somebody some assistance. And all of a sudden, when you turn back around, you're unstuck. And it's a phenomenon that I find constantly. So it's kind of like a trigger to give. Whenever I'm feeling stuck, it just means I haven't contributed enough. Then I go out and give, and the universe turns around and says, "Hey, here's what's going to work for you." And
Ah,
it's such a consistent thing.
that is just, it's Tony Robbins-esque in a way. I like the way that you ruminated and explained it in your own unique way, right? Bruce Lee, take what's useful, discard what's not, uniquely make it your own. And Tony Robbins, I can hear it from years ago, listening to some of his stuff. The reason you're struggling is because, or it's not even the reason. It's in order to vanquish your struggle, serve others, help others get out of their struggle so you can get out of your struggle. And he uses the example, Tony does, on a mother who says, well, no, it's not about me. It's about my kids and how I'm taking care of them. You just brought yourself right back into it because you're worried about how you're taking care of your
Right.
kids. So
Yeah.
get unstuck by serving others. That's a huge takeaway. Millions of watchers and listeners. Let's go, Courtney. I appreciate that, man. That is so succinctly but powerfully said. So you hear that? There's another takeaway is get yourself out of the struggle by helping others out of their struggle.
And it's interesting you mentioned Tony Robbins. I actually don't. You would think somebody doing what I do would like pay attention to his stuff, and I haven't ever looked at anything that he's done. People have mentioned, here and there. So it's interesting that he has kind of the same concept. I think the it could be one of the unspoken laws of success, if you will, is that, it goes along with providing value.
You first always. There's like our friends at Techstars or whatever, the Techstars community, they came up with the give first mantra. I think it's give first, but give with for the right reasons, and give only as much as you can give, because if you
Right.
overgive, then you're not going to be able to keep giving.
Right.
Done.
Yeah.
Period. And I can already see the title of this. I wrote it down in my journal, which is a whole nother kind of thing that, we could talk about another time, but just the power of journaling and the power of writing things down. But I've got right here in front of me, I'm curious in real time on the air here, even though it's not technically the air, but I've got two versions. It goes back to even your version one of like what you're passionate about, how to iterate to like a version 5 or whatever number. Right now I've got, it originally came out like this, but I've already changed it as how to give in the name of goodness to find your greatness,
I like it.
or just how to give to find your greatness. So, I'm just being funny there, but the things you said to me, that's the intent of these podcasts is, it's designed to shed light on things that folks like yourself who are holistically engaged in life, in all senses of life, in all realms, so that others can then have something spark in their brain to say, man, Courtney Hamp from Opichi, what he said there, that really resonated. I'm going to start trying that. And now what happens then, and this can be our final piece for today's conversations, would be something we also talked about maybe last week. I think we did, and maybe if we didn't, it'll be great to ruminate in, is the power of ripple effects, and how someone listening to this conversation, all I need is one set of ears or one ear to hear what we're talking about here for it to matter to me. I don't need 1 million viewers or listeners. I joke about the millions because I know one day this will be there, but right now it's one. And let's get excited about the power of one and the ripple effects that come with it. Are you on the same? Do you see what I'm kind of getting to there and what your views are on ripple effects?
I think I see what you're getting at there. But I'd be interested to know in the sense of ripple effect. Are you talking about, a sense of organic scaling? Or are you talking about, hey, someone might watch this and then, somewhere across the country, someone else gets a benefit from it? What are you picturing there?
I like both. I would like to come back a little bit more to kind of your area of expertise, which would be then the first part of that. So the scalable, organic web dev marketing piece is where actually
Yes.
sincerely my mind was at. So when, this content, for instance, could go as part of a marketing play or platform. So I'd be curious to hear, more from you on what that ripple effect and that power of one would look like in that world of kind of marketing web dev. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Absolutely. So the interesting thing I like to keep in mind, and this is these two things are going to kind of go counterbalance. If somebody is sitting here thinking, "Hey, I want to, do something like my own podcast or start my own YouTube channel or something like that to kind of roll their marketing forward," they're going to be at, kind of in the same spot you are. Want to go to millions of followers, millions of listeners, but where are we at right now? A lot of times people are at zero. So the first thing I would tell people is nobody's going to see your first stuff, so just get out there and do it. Get out there and do it and get better at
So
it.
good, dude.
Don't sit there and worry about it. It's just go do it, get better. I know the first videos I recorded years and years ago, they're terrible and nobody saw them, so it didn't matter.
You're the man, Court. That's so well said. That's just realness and humanity and just candor. So yeah, keep going, brother.
But here's the other side of it, and this is going to be, this is why they might clash in some people's minds. So you got to separate them a bit. And that is, it only takes one person, the right person whose your message really resonates with, to have them push your content forward. If what you've put out really means a lot to people, they're going to share it, right? And it only takes one. And maybe it's somebody with 5 friends, 5 followers on LinkedIn who shares it. Okay, that's not a huge reach, but it made a difference to that person. Next time it could be somebody with 10,000 followers, right? And it's a direct conversation that their network really needs. And it only takes that one. So while thinking of the sense of, okay, nobody's going to see it to begin with, just get out there and start working, providing that value, do think of it from the standpoint of, am I providing value so that if that right person comes along and I connect with them in any way, is it something they can share forward? So that's kind of my perspective on the ripple effect that you're talking about in the sense of marketing and how that goes.
And it's a cool symbiotic relationship that I have to venture, I guess, to with my limited but somewhat high level knowledge of web dev and marketing, and really kind of that digital space, if you will, and how just important it is to have the thoughts, the takeaways, the concepts, we'll call them, that you just ruminated on briefly about, yeah, like no one's going to see your first stuff, but in order to get to that point, you have to have your first stuff. And so it's cool to see how, it can all come together. So it's like right now we talked earlier again about the version one of your passion, right? And then how it'll evolve. And then that passion will have to live somewhere. It'll have to be shown and showcased somewhere. So it's online. Okay, so then it's content. Well, how do I create good content? How do I meld that into a web? How do I put that on a website? How do I structure the website? How do I go back to your newsletter concept, two piece? Right? These are all touches of web dev and marketing and all that, which is the world that we live in. It's dominated by it. You could have the greatest message in the world. You could be the most inspiring person in the world. But if you don't have these things that we're talking about here that you're doing, and obviously scores of other companies around the world do, not all of them do it well, but certainly Opichi, you're rocking it, brother. And I've seen it and we've talked about it. But the point is, you got to have those, man. You got to have those. But it's funny how you need to have, you've got to have the vision and the passion first, and the strategy play and all of that, the planning, the process, which you're a man of process. And that to me is what gets me excited, is to think on those topics. So thanks for answering that. That was fantastic. Just one more and we'll adjourn.
Can I throw in a thought real quick before you?
Please, I should have left the floor to you.
No, you're good. As you were saying that, it reminded me of a topic we talked about briefly last week, growing forward instead of just going forward.
Yes.
And without, we could have a whole conversation about that one, but the concept is we're not just going forward, we're trying to grow at the same time, and always be pushing yourself to grow. And something that people get stuck on when they're trying to create that newsletter, that first offer that they're rolling out, maybe their first ad campaign or whatever it is to put themselves out there. If you don't dislike it, if you're not embarrassed by what you put out 6 months down the road, 10 months down the road, 5 years down the road, then you're not actually growing forward. You need to be moving forward and improving yourself in a way that when you look back at what you did before, it is a little embarrassing. I'll tell you, I look back at sites that I built years ago and I'm embarrassed by it, but that's a good thing because it means I got better. And so, that's, keep in mind that don't sit there saying, oh, but what if it's not perfect? It'll never be perfect if you're constantly trying to improve yourself.
It's as if this was scripted and none of it was, which is the best part. And that's why it's the most organic, because I don't expect you to have seen it. I know you're a busy man, and I post a ton on LinkedIn, but it's funny. Last Monday, I think it was, I can't remember exactly, but I posted about, if you're not looking back 1, 2, or 3 years ago, and you're not laughing at what you were doing, what you were saying, whatever, who you were with, whatever it might be, then you're not growing enough. And I like that you even shortened it to 6 months. I mean, and it's true. I think about 6 months ago on some of the things that I was concerned about, worried about doing, and I'm like, come on, man, like what? So I love saying to keep going. So we have to keep going to keep growing, right? Because if you don't at least put that one foot in front of the other, then you don't afford yourself the chance to grow. So on that topic, then again, as if it's scripted, but this has all been just organic. I got no notes, nothing. What keeps you going, Courtney? This is how we finish. What keeps you going?
Oh gosh, what keeps me going? It's
pick one thing, or whatever, a couple things. Sorry.
I am one of those people who I actually enjoy working. I enjoy creating things, creating businesses, creating new lines of growth for myself and for other people. So it's more a case of what distracts me from that, what takes me away from it. But no, if I look at it, the thing that I love to do pretty much more than anything in life is travel. And I run Opichi the way I run it so that I can travel. A lot of times I work out of the house here, but I could be anywhere because websites work all over the world. So this kind of gives me that ability to travel. If I need to pick up and go somewhere, if I want to pick up and go somewhere, I can do that. And that is I would say one of the things that motivates me to keep going in what I'm doing versus maybe doing something else is that it enables the things that I want to do in life. Um, that would be a place where it is, I think.
Travel. And of course, that travel with your family and loved ones and friends and things of that nature, or not things, but people of that
All,
nature.
all of the
Experience.
above. All of the
Experience.
above. Yeah, it comes down to those
Hmm.
experiences. You can buy material goods, and I like fun, fancy things as much as the next guy. But the things that you can't necessarily go buy are that memory of when you're in Croatia sitting on a rooftop of a old half bombed out building having a dinner with
That sounds
close
pretty
family and
specific.
friends.
Sounds like something you did.
It is. It is.
Woo!
And my wife and I were just kind of thinking about it and talking about it a week or two ago. It's just a good memory. And it's one of those things where you can't go buy that anywhere. And I couldn't go buy it again. It was a night, it happened, and it's a memory that'll always be there. And I live for gathering those memories.
One of one, and you are one of one. And so I thank you for being here and spending these 30, 40 minutes with me, with our listeners, watchers, and for all that you do in so many different places, Court. This was fantastic.
Excited to be here, man.
Well, on that topic, gratitude, my gratitude again to vidwheel Creative Network. I start and end every time. Neil Carroll and team there that have supported me through my 10 months of osmosis, that have afforded me the chance to do this. And I think you may know that name, or at least vidwheel,
I
since
do.
I constantly pump their name out there because they're just great people doing great things,
Neil's
on
a
a
great
great.
guy.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So this is cool. It's the first time that as I thanked and adjourned the podcast, someone and pretty much everyone that I've had on, or most people know Neil and know what he does, but and his team and Morgan there as well. They're fantastic. So my thanks to you again. Court, we had a great conversation here, man, and I'm excited to continue to do it both on camera, off camera, predominantly off camera, but where I guess I should have, and I didn't do this, so forgive me, but where can our listeners and watchers find you and OPG? And we'll finish here.
You can find Opichi at opichi.com. You can reach me directly at Courtney@opichi.com. Really simple. Or, John, you and I are connected on LinkedIn. Anybody who's connected to John, just wander over and find me, and be happy to accept the friend request.
Good. And all that for our listeners, watchers will be in the show notes. Make it nice and easy. Click the link and you can find all those things that Courtney just talked about. Again, my thanks, Court. And everyone,
Pleasure.
please keep going to keep growing. Let's go. Take care, everyone.
Amen. Cheers.
Take care. Bye bye.